Hey, everybody with the Benchwarmers. I'm Jamie. I'm here with my co-host, Gabe. Gabe, how you doing, buddy?
You know, it's been a wonderful 2 weeks of the Olympics. I'm a little sad they're over. But, here we are going on to the rest of our regular sports calendar. Another Olympiad has come and gone.
Yeah, the real Olympics were the sports we watched along the way, or
Yeah.
something like that. It is, as we're taping this, the closing ceremony has just wrapped up. All the sports have been played. All the events have transpired. And I think it was a great Olympics in general. It was an exceptional Olympics for Israel and Jewish athletes, and I think we'll talk about that in some depth.
It seemed to be a spectacular success for France.
Yeah, this was the first Olympics that I felt like I heard a lot of people say they wish they were there. Like,
yes,
it just seemed like a good hang, seeing the beach volleyball at the Champ de Mars and, stuff at the Palais Royal, fencing at the Grand Palace, like stuff, dressage at Versailles was just sort of,
it was very iconic, beach volleyball amazing. And the cycling underneath the
Eiffel Tower. Yeah.
The Eiffel Tower. Yeah.
So let's go with a little bit of a recap. The last episode obviously was look ahead. This is going to be the look back. So let's talk a little bit about how Jewish and Israeli athletes did at the Olympics. Let's start, Gabe.
I'd say it was a pretty successful Olympics for Jews.
Yeah.
Other than all of the things going on in the world, I would say it went pretty well.
Yeah, I would say that maybe the first thing to say is that there were lots of concerns going into the Olympics about how Israeli athletes especially were going to be treated. When I spoke to Ido Rakovsky in our last episode, he talked about that a little bit. And I guess, there were ongoing issues. There were threats, etc. There were minor things, but there was no big thing. So I think that's just that's the macro level thing to focus on. Just that there was nothing significant. There was no significant security threat. No significant security event. Who cares about that? They didn't translate into anything. And I'm sure there are various security apparati that made sure it was the case. But regardless, the point is nothing happened.
It was generally safe, we believe.
What did happen is that Israel had its most successful Olympics. Basically in any measurement. It won 7 medals, a gold, 5 silvers, and a bronze. I think there were some real surprises. When I spoke to Ido, he said he thought 6 medals was possible.
And I mean, 7's one more than 6. We know that.
Yeah, so I think this was a great outcome. So just to run down those medals, I think the real surprise, based on, and I would say I'm not a windsurfing expert, but based on the projections I read about and past standing, Tom Ruveni won the men's IQ foil windsurfing contest. Israel's only gold at the Olympics. That was a bit of a surprise, and amazing for him, an amazing result.
It's nice to know, having been to Israel and knowing the country, that they win at the beach sports.
Right.
Like the things people do while sort of hanging out with their friends on the Tel Aviv boardwalk. Have you ever seen Zohan? Zohan is just just amazing at every beach game. Yeah, right. It's the windsurfing is like the hacky sack, the pro kadima, that sort of thing. It's great.
Well, Israel also took Sharon Cantor also took home the silver in the women's IQ foil, the women's windsurfing contest. So 2 medals in sailing and the windsurfing, 3 medals coming in judo, 2 silvers by Inbar Lanier and Raz Hirshko, and a bronze by Peter Palchik, which is sort of interesting because for the way that most of the combat sports work, the silver medal is awarded to the person who loses in the gold medal match. They've won all their matches up until that point, but then they lost their last match. While the bronze is someone who had to fight back, sometimes from a repechage to win their bronze medal round. So it's sort of funny that, Peter Palchik, when he won his judo match and he won the bronze medal, was sort of celebratory. And for Inbar and Raz, I think it's sort of like, it's sort of a bit of a disappointment.
I
mean, you lose your last match.
Bronze, Jerry Seinfeld said it the best, which is bronze, you get something.
Yeah,
but
silver feels like you lost.
Silver is you're the first loser. Nobody loses more than you.
Nevertheless, an amazing accomplishment. Talking about another sort of, again, by any standard, amazing accomplishment, but maybe a letdown because of last time. Artem Dolgopiat won the silver in the men's floor routine in gymnastics. Again, he won the gold last time, so I understand for him his expectations were high. But again, a silver medal at the Olympics is a lifetime accomplishment. And amazing. The women's rhythmic gymnastics team for Israel, won the team silver medal as well. So again, a little bit less gold than the last Olympics, but an amazing Olympics altogether. 7 medals. I would say also, maybe this is like the Canadian in me, but I've always thought that overall medals is more important than most golds.
Yeah, I think the official. Okay, so
is that loser mentality?
I think that might be loser mentality. I think what's a little more important to think is that like the IOC has just like made this decision. That like many years ago, the IOC just decided it's like Mario Party stars. Like you could have, if you have 2 stars and 0 coins, you're ahead of the person that has 150 coins and 1 star. Right. Like the IOC, whether or not it should be one way or the other, that is just like what they have decided. Yeah. And Canada, I think that is the Canadian me. If they chose 4th place as being the most, Canada would be the all time. We call in my house, we call 4th place Canadian gold. They've got more than anybody else this year. Actually, interestingly, they were 2nd. Italy had more Canadian golds in this Olympics than Canada did, but Canada came in 2nd in the number of 4th places. So we're still following our pattern.
Look, I think for Israel, any gold, this is after all their 4th gold ever. It's less than the 2 they got in Tokyo, but they got 7 medals.
Yeah, it's the most.
That's about a third of their all-time medals, and it's trending in the right direction. It's a great outcome, and I think there's lots to be excited for. Unfortunately, the soccer team that we profiled a little bit did not have a great outcome. It tied its first match against Mali, but then lost its next 2 matches and didn't make it out of the group stage. That was the only team sport. We'll see if Israel can make it back to the Olympics in baseball. I have no idea how the qualifications are going to work when baseball is back in the Olympics in 2028. But I think it's as likely as not that we'll see an Israeli baseball team back in the next Olympics. So lot to be excited about there. Gabe, let's move on to diaspora Jews.
The rest of the world.
I think there were some surprisingly robust Jews from down under who had some huge contributions.
I think so. Before we get deep into the down under, I want to quickly settle something.
Okay.
We have been, I would say, inundated with requests. I have never covered any athlete on this show, even your Alex's Bregman and so on and so forth, who I've had more people reach out to me and ask, is hammer throwing gold medalist Ethan Katzberg Jewish?
Right.
And I get to say
Nanaimo, BC.
The product of Nanaimo, and I get to say the thing I say every time, which I'm very happy to do. Get this, he isn't. Yeah. Which is people are like shocked to hear it. How can Ethan Katzberg not be Jewish? How is not? We did some honest to God journalism on this one. Our producer Michael,
we should say Mike got word back from someone with Athletics Canada saying that they were quite sure that he's not Jewish. We did our own digging. I mean, someone made a Reddit post about it, and somebody, I would say someone definitively replied, said that they went to school with his father at a German Baptist college in Alberta. I mean, for my part, I've researched anyone who I could find connected with him. That's true. They didn't appear to be Jewish.
I'm going to toot our own horn a little bit. We're pretty good at this. Finding out who is Jewish. We have disagreements. I would say that Jeremy Swayman was a miss. That was a miss. I would
say for you and I, like, we're not journalists per se. We're very good at figuring out who's Jewish, and I think the standards that we set is just sort of like vibes. And so, as much as we would love to have Ethan Katzberg as a member of the tribe, a Hebrew hammer thrower.
Yeah, he's got the look. He's he's got a silly mustache. He's got big hair.
But the vibes, again, I'm sure there are a few Jews on Nanaimo, on Vancouver Island, but not many. And I didn't get the vibes that he was Jewish. Usually there would be some reporting, and again, his dad's name is Bernie Katzberg, so like there was quite the red herrings to be chasing. But usually we're pretty good at this, so I understand everyone being excited about it. Totally understandable. And we wish Ethan all the luck in the world.
I'll still say
an amazing accomplishment.
Muzzle tov. You can get that. You can get a muzzle tov from us at the Benchwarmers. But I think he's not. He is just, I guess, maybe probably, I would say he is a rare level of who we like to call on this show Mike Jacobs All-Stars. Mike Jacobs All-Stars!
So let's move on to some of the verified Jews then. The two that I mentioned the gold medalists from Down Under are, of course, the Fox sisters, Jessica and Naomi Fox, who won kayak and canoe medals. Naomi Fox won the kayak cross medal, the first kayak cross gold. Did you see the kayak cross? It's an insane
amazing
sport.
Yeah, they have to do a full flip underwater.
Yeah,
like
you're kayaking at the same time. It's like a battle royale.
Yeah, what I think is spectacular is that a Jewish person has willingly entered rough open water for this event.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's controlled because it's a slalom course, but that was sort of the first week. Jessica Fox really dominated the kayak and canoe slalom courses. Also want to shout out.
She is our goat.
Yeah,
the real retiring goat of the Olympics, with all due respect to Simone Biles, might be Jessica Fox.
Might be. I mean, she's been as dominant in the canoe and kayak slalom pretty much as anyone has. Also,
if you're listening, Jessica, we'd love to chat about it.
Also want to shout out American wrestler Amita Lor. As you might suspect from the name, she has Israeli parents, but grew up in LA. She gave a very nice comment after winning her gold medal.
She's a Swedish Amita Lor.
After winning her 68 kilogram match, she gave some comments in Hebrew that I saw online. I think to one of the Israeli media organizations that asked her about it, which is very nice. I think we will absolutely be seeing her in 2028. Especially
she has not lost a match in 4 years.
She's just dominated. Not that I know that much about wrestling, but
no, it's win or lose. It's I think Vince should put the belt on her. I think that she deserves to be champion for many, many years. Right. That was a throw to our wrestling head listeners. Keeping on this method, I want to follow up. We talked about her at the beginning of the Olympics, but New Zealand race walker Jemima Montag, Australian race walker. I apologize. Australian race walker Jemima Montag won 2 bronze medals.
Yeah, in both the female 20-kilometer walk and the
mixed relay.
The mixed relay, right? So very impressive for her. We also had Sienna Green, who won a silver medal with the Australian water polo team. So again, a lot of Jews from Australia,
down under,
who really competed.
Some thunder from down under.
Yeah, and someone who didn't medal but played a part for her team. Joe Alla was the flag bearer for New Zealand during the opening ceremony.
I think. I mean, once I met a guy added me on LinkedIn. He was I think he was Syrian, and his name was Hashem Saeed. But it read as Hashem said.
Right.
And I think that's the opposite of Joe Alla. Like it'd be like somebody's name being, spoke Allah.
Right.
But it's Hashem Saeed. So that's what I take on Joe Alla. But it's interesting to hear that. Also from Down Under, unfortunately not successful. We did see, another American in the team sports win a rugby medal. Sarah Levy was sort of, I would say, somewhat of a, not surprising, but like a breakout star of the team. The tournament's on the first weekend of the Olympics, the women's rugby tournament.
Yeah, but a lot of fun watching the women's rugby.
A lot of fun watching.
And we also had some fencing medals too. Nick Ickton won the bronze in foil, and the U.S. women's team took the gold in the team foil. And that team stars Jackie Dubrovich and Maya Weintraub, both Jewish fencers. So I'd say not disappointing fencing wise, but just like there were a ton of Jews on the U.S. teams and none of them medaled individually except for Nick Ickton. So hopefully that there is a big Jewish fencing community in LA that hopefully will be representing in the 2020.
I think so. And I do want to sort of bring this up. I know that fencing was sort of dominated in the team sport and in the individual by Hungarians. There was on both the Hungarian team, there is a David Nagy, who I don't know if he's Jewish, but there are a lot of Hungarian Jewish fencers. And he sort of has the punim, so you never know.
I think it's mostly pre-war. I think those people, as the movie Sunshine showed us, there were difficulties for that.
And the other one would be Mate Koch, Kosh or Koch, who also is if you were to show me a picture of him, and I know we're not so into phrenology, but if you were to say this guy is from Israel and his name is Ethan Katzberg, he really fits the bill. So you never know, right? There are a lot of Hungarian Jews who have been in fencing for a long time. So if anyone knows anything else about Mate Koch, he's sort of someone who I clocked, but while watching all of it.
Yeah, but all in all, I would say a pretty good, pretty good Olympics for the Jews. Maybe a few favorites that we would have liked to see on the podium that didn't quite make it. But again, a pretty good Olympics for the Jews and for Israel. I think it'll be interesting to see, whether in the next Olympics, the next Summer Olympics in 2028 in LA, Jews have sort of pride of place. I believe that there are Jews involved at the sort of highest level of organizing the Olympic Games. Not that that'll translate into anything.
Absolutely.
So in terms of, the events or anything like that. Casey Wasserman is the guy who's the chairman of the 2028 Olympics. But, obviously there's a lot of great Jewish Angelinos who have contributed in the sporting world.
Californian Jewish talent. I think one of the young Jewish medalists from this Olympics was 17-year-old Claire Weinstein of the USA swimming team. Like she is only 17 years old and is about to start her college swimming at Berkeley. Right. And she's like a White Plains bat mitzvah, swimming superstar, budding superstar. She was on a team with Katie Ledecky, who came in second in the 4x200, and I think in 4 more years she'll be 21. She'll have some college swimming under her belt. Like we should watch out for her to dominate the Los Angeles Olympics, also in her adopted home state of California.
Yeah, like every time there's an Olympics, I sort of feel like, we should keep an eye on these people. We should keep watching these sports in the off years, and invariably something else captures one's attention, and it's hard to keep up with, U.S. national or European, championships, things like that. But whatever. I hope the Olympics inspires people to get interested in some of these more obscure, less celebrated sports, because they're amazing.
As we enter,
see it at the Olympics.
Like, as we enter I guess I'm looking up, it is the 34th Olympiad that has just begun. That has begun today. Okay. So are you going to be, what are you following between now and we know what you follow during the 33rd Olympiad. That's ended. That's over. We closed the book on that. But it's Simchas Torah for the Olympiads. And in the 2028 Olympiad, I guess the 34th Olympiad, we should start paying attention to, now that we know sport climbing, skateboarding, surfing are here to stay. However, boxing may not be in the Olympics anymore.
I think
that's gone.
One thing to keep an eye on might be squash. There have been Jews who have been pretty dominant in squash in years past. I would say that's not something I'm keeping up on right now, but there's good squash programs at like the various Ivy Leagues that often Jews have been involved with. So
that tend to show Jewish.
In terms of like the American team, I wouldn't be surprised if that has some Jews on it. I think there's other the baseball tournament should be interesting in terms of qualifying. That's something that we'll probably see.
It's back, and Team Israel will want to be involved for sure.
And lacrosse as well. I mean, lacrosse is a sport that surprisingly Israel has had some success in, and I think qualifying an Israeli lacrosse team to the Olympics, I don't know that's like. I don't know who's in charge of that, but I think that's a possibility.
One thing I think is really interesting is they've changed modern pentathlon to be a little bit more, I don't want to call it more LA, but a little bit different, is that they're getting rid of the horses from modern pentathlon. It is now, the other event is going to be like a Spartan race, like an obstacle course race that is replacing the show jumping in modern pentathlon, which is like, I think it's they want less European royalty to be participated in it, and just like uber athlete freaks
it being LA, it should just be like driving, but like you have to get from downtown to the valley in less than 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
I've never been to LA, and I have
you deal with traffic on the 405.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if those numbers make sense at all, but I know traffic is bad.
I think we've got Angelinos listening to the show that can maybe explain what the LA modern pentathlon is, other than like waiting in line at the LACMA and going to a show at the Hollywood Bowl and avoiding Hollywood at all costs. I think, or avoiding Sunset Boulevard at all costs.
I like the idea. I like the idea of site-specific Olympic sports. Like break-in was, I believe, a 2024 only.
Yeah,
and like 2020 had karate, which. is complete ridiculous nonsense because one of the Olympic medals they gave out in 2020
Los Angeles would be negotiating?
Negotiating. That's a good question. I don't know what the like LA specific sports are, but like we should think about
litigation.
That. Like, litigation. Like being an entertainment lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Movie making, filmmaking is like, why not?
And the golf tournament, going back to Jewish venues, is taking place at Riviera, which was not an exclusive Jewish club, but one of the first clubs in LA to allow Jews that wasn't exclusively Jewish.
Yeah.
So there's a Jewish history there.
So lots to look forward to, and we'll get back on our Olympics beat in 15 months or so to get ready for the Milan Winter Olympics, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of Jews involved in that.
Before Before we leave the discussion of the Olympics, I want to highlight our comrades of Ethan Katzberg, teammates of Ethan Katzberg from this Olympics, who succeeded on the Mike Jacobs All-Star team.
Mike Jacobs All-Star!
Yeah. So we've been keeping track. When somebody appears Jewish or we think Jewish, we're going to write about a couple of medalists we want to point out who did well. Coming in just fourth, sort of a disappointing fourth, was Australian rugby player Madison Levi or Madison Levy. I don't know which one it is. Maybe both, maybe neither. Also, we saw silver from French fencer Sarah Balzer, who I picked Sarah Balzer because I know one who is Jewish. So, I think I know pronounced it Belzer, but it's spelled Balzer, so that's close enough. Similar, he is definitely not Jewish, but Aaron Brown. I also know a Jewish Aaron Brown. And he won gold on the 4x100 Canadian track team. And then lastly, who I don't speak enough French to like go through French synagogue bulletins to know this, but in the mountain biking, there was a silver medalist won by a French mountain biker named Victor Koretsky. Who, as to quote Jamie, has the punim. He might like Koretsky. That is sort of an old European Jewish name. It is possible he has some Jewish relative, but I couldn't find his name in any shul bulletin, so I'm clocking up as a maybe. But just a very successful Mike Jacobs All-Star.
Right. If anyone has any information about any other Olympians that we missed who have some Jewish background, let us know. We're always on the lookout for more members of the tribe in the athletic ranks. Gabe, let's take a quick break and we'll come back with some golf talk and then close it out.
I can't date women right now because I'm too busy calling myself a piece of shit.
I had a dysfunctional Jewish mother and I had a dysfunctional Native mother.
I had 25 full years of utter struggle and failure.
I started to realize the absurdity of my inability to let go of this monster of guilt.
Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Hi, I'm Ralph Benrig. I'm the host of Not That Kind of Rabbi, where we look at people's spiritual journeys and take a little time for their self-reflection, and maybe yours. You can get it all at thecjn.ca/NTKR or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. As we are taping this, the sun has just set in North Carolina on the Wyndham Championship, and this is an odd time of the golf calendar because all the majors are over, but like there's still the playoffs to come, and like there's some tournaments towards the end of the year. So I think it's fair even for golf fans to not have been paying a ton of attention,
to golf right now,
after the Olympics to golf right now. But we want to talk about Max Grazerman, the young Jewish golfer who
from New Jersey,
from
New child of a Columbia mathematics professor.
He had been on the Korn Ferry starting in 2022. Made his PGA debut just earlier this year in Sony at the Sony Open in Hawaii, and has now registered back-to-back runner-up finishes at the 3M Open,
back-to-back second places.
Look, he had a complete blow up today. He eagled a hole on the back nine to go up 4 strokes, and then
with 5 to play, with 5 strokes, with 5 holes to play, he was up by 4.
He was up by 4 and then registered a quadruple bogey on the 14th hole. It is disappointing. I mean, what can you say? A double bogey and he'd have won the championship. He then birdied the next hole and doubled 16 and couldn't close the gap and was two strokes back by the end of the championship.
But it is very sad to see him do this 2 weeks in a row. He also sort of had a hero shot, was flirting back and forth, bogey, birdie, last week at the 3M Open too. Or 2 weeks ago, I should say. Last week they were off, or he was off. But he'll find a way to win eventually. It's rare that somebody has a lot of second place finishes without wins.
Absolutely.
We like obviously following the Jewish golfers, but this is I think it's his 6th top 30 in a row, his 7th top 30 finish in a row. Since the U.S. Open.
Which we should say he made the cut at. There's probably been some benefit to him, I would say, from the playing some of the Carolina tournaments. Like he went to school at Duke, and I can only assume that you get some familiarity with if not those courses themselves, then with the sort of playing conditions you're going to see. But this is a lot of promise. I think the second place at Wyndham will make him in the top 50.
Yes.
So
brought him into he's 47th. So barring some horrible disaster, he will likely be in for at least 2 more weeks. He still has to play his way into the Tour Championship, but he'll be playing for 2 more weeks.
Yeah, but that gives him some protection next year as well. Like I'm not.
It gets him in. What it does is it gets him into the signature events. So now he has booked the signature events next year.
Exactly. So it's pretty much like, he has his tour card, but he can probably play pretty much every event with some qualifications for majors. But again, like a few top 10s would probably early
fix that. But I think this now gets him into at least the first handful of signature events, which are no cut big money events. Just a couple of other, this is the end of the golf regular season. What they call the FedEx Cup's playoffs start next week, where they start eliminating sort of the bottom chunk of golfers. So someone who was eliminated today, but finished the season in 107th place, which means he gets to stay on the PGA Tour another year, is Ben Silverman.
Right.
Ben, a Jewish guy from Toronto, he had been on the PGA Tour previously, and I think he finished around 130th, which meant the cutoff is 125th. So he just barely missed the cutoff last time he did it, but he made it rather comfortably now. He's in 107th, so he's going to get his card next year. He doesn't get to play every event, but he is going to play again.
He's had some solid finishes recently. He had a good run for a bit at the Barracuda, I believe.
Yep.
And has made the cut at pretty much everything he's been at.
It's true. He's had a very good season. One person, unfortunately, who didn't won in the top 25 and is now entering the final year of their win exemption is Daniel Berger.
Yeah, and Daniel's someone who we talked about. I think we spoke about him a lot. We were speaking about him a lot 3 or 4 years ago, and then he had this
he had a horrible back injury
which kept him off the tour for more than a year. He as you said, he did win a couple years ago.
So for his injury time, his exemption gets extended.
Right.
So it would have ended this year, but because he missed a full year, it goes to next year. So he'll be back on tour next year, but he's not coming from a position of power. He's going to have to earn his way to stay on next year.
Yeah, and I think, again, he's someone he has 4 career PGA Tour wins. There were times this year where he looked pretty good. He finished 21st at the U.S. Open and had some good run there for a while. I think it's he's going to make it back. It's a progression. It's going to take some time. And
it is.
As someone who's sort of marginally he's a guy who's going to play plenty of tournaments next year.
Yes. He'll want to keep his card, right? Majors. It actually matters next year a lot. Unfortunately, we didn't see the same luck of David Lipsky, who did not have a great season on the PGA Tour. He is unlikely to keep his tour card. He finished 136th or 163rd. Sorry. So that means, 35, 38 other guys that something has to happen to see if he can stay.
Right.
And he may get some exemptions, but he's not automatic entry.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be a golf discussion on Benchwarmers without talking about Max Homa. I would say, a bit of an up and down year for him. No wins, but some close contentions. There was
Our other Jewish Max golfer.
Yeah, there was a moment on Sunday when he was tied for the lead at the Masters, and he is 35th on the FedEx Cup rankings. So if he has a decent tournament
next 2 weeks, he'll get to
either of the next 2 weeks.
Finals.
He'll make it to the finals. You know, you could definitely make some mark here. He's had good outcomes, I think, at the St. Jude and the BMW before. So definitely possible that we'll see him at the Tour Championship.
Absolutely.
And, you know, still waiting for him to make good on winning a major. Obviously, that would be a huge accomplishment for him.
People have been talking him as an upcoming major winner for a long time. He hasn't played since the British Open. He is taking a full month off. He has a young son. Obviously wants to spend time with him. So we just wish Max, you know, obviously all the best, and maybe he can win the FedEx Cup. Who the heck knows, right? Anybody who finishes in the top 30 has a chance, right? It's just one tournament at the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. I mean, I think a lot of people tune out from golf after the last, after the British now being the last one. But I think the FedEx Cup is kind of fun. Like, there's a lot of money at stake. You know, they certainly care about winning it. More than it felt they used to.
And you know, East Lake, where it is in Atlanta, is a very cool course to see. Also, interestingly about East Lake, and we care about this in Benchwarmers, another country club that early on in its life was integrated and not restricted. You know, many country clubs famously so in Georgia had very racist and anti-Semitic policies. Right. East Lake is not one of them.
That's good to know, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It is good to know.
So that's a good recap on 2024 season. Gabe, anything else you want to mention before we sign off?
So I just want to tell a quick story. My sister, I want to relay a great joke my sister made the other day. She was at the Blue Jays game on Wednesday. She went, she's a Blue Jays fan, likes going to games. She was there today as well, as a matter of fact. Saw Jake Geloff hit an absolute bomb. Yeah. But she sent me a text during the game that says, Spencer Horwitz, who's been on this podcast before, was just struck out by Dean Kramer. How often has that happened? And then about 10 seconds later, outside of summer camp.
That's pretty funny. It's true. I mean, there's been a few highlighting of Jew on Jew at bats this year.
Battles,
battles this year.
But AL East, those two guys are going to be facing each other in the AL East for a long time. And they're both Team Israel buddies. They've played together on Team Israel before, as well, are in the same division. Both, appeared in Kevin Youkilis's October 7th video. Like I think they're both in the group chat. Now that we know that this group chat exists, they're both in the group chat.
Yeah, I hope so. And hopefully we'll both be on Team Israel in 2026. Just quick correction. You said it was Jake Geloff. It was Zach Geloff.
Zach Geloff. That's what I meant. I apologize. Zach Geloff hit a nuke this morning.
But yeah, pretty exciting to see Spencer Horwitz, definitely sticking around.
He's had a great season. He's got a job next year. He'll be back next year for sure.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens with the World Baseball Classic 2 springs from now, I guess.
2 springs from now? I would like to think he's probably going to be in Team Israel. Unlikely. Yeah. I mean, maybe he'll be on Team USA. I'm hoping he's on Team USA for the Blue Jays, but...
Wow. Anyways, until next time, we'll be back in your ears in a few weeks. More from the world of Jews and sports. Thank you again to our producer Michael Fraiman for doing actual journalistic work instead of just
on
Googling
behalf of
someone's name and trying to find the answers that way. We're brought to you as always by the Canadian Jewish News. Find the Canadian Jewish News content at thecjn.ca and follow us on Twitter at Menschwarmers, where we make bold predictions about Max Grazerman winning tournaments that he ends up not being able to close.
Not being able to win. Did you tweet that he was going to win?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe it's your fault then.
Yeah, a bit of a mistake on my part. Anyways, until next time, thanks for listening. We're the Menschwarmers.